This episode is sponsored by Zenro Clothing Co. Pick up your tees and or accessories at zenroclothingco.com and be sure to use offer code Socrates at checkout for 20% off select items. Also, if you're not into spending the money, just check out the Zenrail radio playlist. zenrailclothingco.com, music for your everyday. This episode also sponsored by The Portian Bakery. If you're located in the Portian area of Scarborough, Toronto, be sure to check out The Portian Bakery, say what's up to Arville, and pick up a donut or two. Baked daily, crafted with love. This episode also sponsored by Podbean. Podbean is the podcasting platform of choice. It's the one that me and Vish use, and is great, you know, if you're looking to start that DIY podcast yourself. Definitely check out Podbean. Use the link podbean.com/SocraticGamers and gain 1 month of unlimited podcasting for free. Test it out, build that content. Anyone could podcast, right, Vish?
Yep.
Start a podcast and get your ideas out there. All right, enjoy the episode. Okay, cool. So let's just start off with the Apple, because that did happen this week, and I have something related to the Apple that I want to show you. I was like messaging you guys about it, but you probably haven't like delved deep into it. But I've been playing around with it a lot, and I'll see what you think after. Okay, cool. So go for it. Apple.
Yeah, the Apple thing was new iPad Pro, their thinnest product ever. Like they were showing it compared to like the Nano, like thinner than the Nano, the iPod Nano.
Wait, what? So it's almost like paper now.
Well,
like obviously not paper, but it's like
yeah.
that like super thin, like or not paper, maybe like a folder.
Sure.
You know, like when you have like a bundle of folder, like a folder of papers and stuff. Okay, cool. Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, but they had I'll talk about a little bit of a controversy at the end, but so yeah, but the thing is, the iPad Pro is what got the biggest upgrades.
Okay.
And they put an M4 into it, which isn't in anything else.
Oh, wow. It's what? Say again?
This is the first M4.
Ever? Like
yeah. They
had M3. Wow.
And then they put M4 into the side.
Okay, man, how fast are we getting here? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are we getting?
They didn't do an M3 for the iPad, I believe. I think they went from M2 and put an M4.
Okay, but like, is it just gonna be continual? Like, if we look at man, I haven't finished that book yet, but if we look at the what do you call that? Oh, help me out. Moore's Law. If you look at Moore's Law and then every year it like doubles and like reduces in size, doubles in processing speed. So are they just following that where it's just going to
that's what. Yeah, I think what I hear is like what I hear was just, I don't know what specifically it was, but some things are like 50% faster than the M2. So that's the doubling, right?
Right, but I'm wondering, what is the point where you're going to not even notice it?
Yeah, you're
you know
not.
What I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so, like, why do we need to continuously improve? I guess maybe like for background tasks, like it'll make it faster, but
yeah,
I don't know.
But I think the improvement is always, it's always some sort of, it's the processing power or whatever that they need it for, right? Because things are going to go towards anything. This is what you're going to bring up. Because I'm interested to see what their June event is, because that's when the software stuff comes out, and I think it's going to maybe it might focus on, or in the future will focus more on AI.
So you know what I'm going to bring up.
Yeah. So that's the thing that I'm hearing.
Okay, so that makes sense. Like the faster. Okay, so we won't actually need the processing speed for work. I mean, it would be amazing if when I hit render on the video, it's instantaneous. That would be great. But the M1 already is like so fast. Like I was editing this 8-minute video yesterday, and it took me maybe like 4 minutes to render, and then not even 4 minutes. It was rendering as it was going. I think it was like 4 minutes to export. So like, that's pretty fast.
Right.
But I mean, would I have loved it if it was like instantaneous? That would be great. But I mean, we're not at that point where
it'll be like
you
those,
know what I mean?
like those videos in the first, like the different iPhones, and like going through opening different apps and seeing the timing of closing. Remember that?
Oh, I see what you're saying. No,
so
no,
this
no,
is
I don't. I know what you're saying, but
yeah, but this is what probably will happen. Like the M1 to the M4, it's like opening and rendering something. Like how quick
totally.
is it progressing? Yeah,
But
progressing.
there is that point. Remember, in the old, we talked about this in the past when I first got the new iPhone. I had to slow down the speed because the processing rate or whatever, the refresh rate was too quick. It was messing with my eyes. Like I couldn't tell when to stop looking.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, because it was like it wouldn't blur out.
Yeah,
and then you're like, oh, that's the refresh. It's just too high. So you turn it down, and then now it's like it's back to my normal tracking speed, so I don't get nauseous when I look at it. But like I really don't think customer facing there is any point to making this thing any faster. But it does make sense with the AI thing because like you need other things to run quickly in the background.
Yeah.
So like maybe that is where it's gonna go. I don't know. It just feels like we're at such a high plateau point, and we're just like arguing over minute hairs. It's like, oh, it's 1 millisecond faster. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I mean, the thing is, if you're buying a new iPad, it's not like the price had gone up. It was just the same price.
Right. So it's like you might as well just get the new one. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is. I mean. Yeah, and plus, if you have faster processing speeds, you could have like more difficult. Maybe I'm looking at it as like a speed thing, but it's more like a performance thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you could perform with better apps on these things now.
Yeah,
like the apps can be a lot more intensive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the point is to get it to eventually. I mean, it's putting an M4 into it, but the iPad is a MacBook Pro, right? In a sense, but the applications are not designed yet for that. But like the other big thing that was there outside of the iPad Pro was the Apple Pencil Pro.
Oh, okay. What's so great about this?
There's now like the haptic. There's some haptic feedback. There's
touch, nice. That's cool.
Touch sensitive, like pressure sensitive. So like when you click it, then icons pop up around it,
okay.
And then you select. And then there's also like a twist thing where like the brush you can angle it, which are based on how you turn your fingers around the pencil.
All right. Yeah, totally. Okay. I see now. Now that you're explaining it, it actually makes sense as to why you'd want faster processing speed, because for that thing to give you the correct amount of feedback, you need that thing to happen instantaneously.
Yeah.
Because I'm dealing with this website thing right now. This like website issue that came up, and one of the developers was like, oh, it's because you're running an old platform, like you're running like 1.3 whereas we're on like 1.6 right now, right? And I was like, oh, okay, like what's the difference? And he's like, you can have these new additions to your experience. Like I can drag and drop where you can drag and
yeah,
it's tough. It's just like the ease with which you can edit something where like you can drag and drop. I mean, I could technically drag and drop now, but it's a better experience of drag and drop. Like I have more options, basically, is what he's saying.
Right.
Is if I upgraded to the new platform. And I was like, okay, that does make sense. And I think, yeah, maybe I'm just looking at this whole thing incorrectly, where it's like, why do you keep needing to process speed? Like speed doesn't matter. It's like, no, it's like the background stuff you're not seeing.
Yeah.
That's really important. It's really not about, what we see.
Yeah.
It's supposed to make what we see seamless. So it's like, oh, this is so intuitive, so easy. But it's like, yeah, but there's so much back end that you don't see that's actually happening towards making this thing like effortless. Yeah. Okay, you sold me on like this conversation sold me on like why you would continue, because I was like, why need another M4, M5, M6? Like, what are we doing? But like, yeah, okay. I mean, that's how you're able with the M1 when they introduced it. That's how you have like your iPad and your laptop, and then you could drag the project over without a wire. And you're like, what? How's this happening? It's like, well, because the processing speed's so fast for the M1. Yeah, is that the only thing that they?
Yeah, those are the main two things. Yeah, iPad Pro and Pencil Pro. Yeah.
And I'm wondering when we shift over to, well, me specifically, when do I shift over to just an iPad? I don't know.
It just depends on the applications. The applications have to be as equal to the computer.
Yeah, but I think the applications are there. I'm wondering if it's more like the inputs now. So like, I'm having this issue. Maybe this is why they want to do it without wires. because like wires are so fragile. So I have this flash drive, right? It's
Mm.
like it's not even a hard disk, so it's like
Yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
SSD, right? Um, so so that thing is like hyper fast, right? But now I'm having this issue. I don't know if it's the MacBook or the wire, but it's having a hard time connecting to it. And I thought it was just like, oh, maybe it's just not able to read it. And I was reading online, it's like, oh, it could be the wire or the port.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
Yeah,
oh man, hardware is so annoying. Because like, you know, you're always like moving it, and as
sure.
you move it, you kind of like loosen a pin. And then if you loosen a pin, it's having a hard time like reading. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Or just yeah, the
Like,
wiring internally
yeah,
like overheat just because of the transfer
heat too.
speeds.
Yeah,
Yeah,
heat as well. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I was like editing this video yesterday, and like I just moved my laptop like a tiny
Mm.
bit, and then it disconnected the thing. I was like, oh my God, I lost
Oh
and it
shit.
had been hours of editing. I was like, crap. But then I put it back in, it was like, okay, cool.
Hmm.
But I had to restart it in order to, because I had to like, I realized the fix was if I restart the MacBook, for some reason, it's able to read it again.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
okay.
if
Hmm.
I don't know, it's like wires are fickle, is what I'm saying. And like, even my dad actually, I just bought him. So he has the 11 Pro, and he was complaining about the wire. Like it's like, oh, it's not charging. Every time I touch it, it like unhooks itself.
Hmm.
And I'm experiencing the same thing. And I'm like, yeah, Dad, it's because the wire. Like you're moving it around, so it's like opening the space or whatever. So like right now, my phone's charging right here. But
Yeah.
if I touch it a little bit, it'll disconnect the charge. I'm like, oh man, like what are we doing?
Hmm.
So he's like, oh, can you get me like a wireless one? So I got him that one. And he's like so happy about it. And I'm like, yeah, because there's no
Yeah,
wire. Like,
yeah,
wires are so frustrating.
yeah, yeah. But
But
like,
that's
yeah, there's pros and cons to that too, right? I use a
mm,
wireless one, but the
wireless charger. Yeah,
yeah, but it's like the rate, the speed of the charger will be
yeah.
faster
That's what I
with
was
the
talking to.
wire.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's the
I was
things like
asking
that.
the girl at Best Buy. I was like, what's the fastest one? She's like, well, they only go up to like, um, I think she said the fastest is 15. I don't know, 15 volts per, I don't know what that means, but she's like 15 is the fastest. But if you get a wire, you can get up to 40. I was like, damn, all right. So you get like
Yeah.
double the speed.
Hmm.
But then she said like, we recommend not going over 20. So I was like, what does that mean? I don't know, it's gonna burn out the thing.
No, I don't know. That there's those are not necessarily true though, because the it doesn't like charge 40 all the way to 100. It does 40 and then it slows down as you get closer to the
Oh, it's the max
100%.
point. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, there's a weird thing on the Mac that I have, the new one, the M1 chip. It doesn't charge past 80%. I was like, what is this?
Hmm.
I don't know if it's like built because you know how they're saying like don't charge your devices to full,
Yeah. Okay.
right? So like as I'm charging it, it stops at 80, and then it's like it has like this like lightning bolt thing, and it says like power like efficient charging or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's weird. It doesn't go past a certain point, but I'm like,
But
maybe
does
that's to
it?
save the battery.
But can you go to 100 or no?
I didn't mess around with the settings. I'm like, I'm just gonna leave this thing
Okay.
alone.
Yeah, that's probably I don't know if that's like the work related thing, but it is it does help battery life if you're not charging it up to 100. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe it just knows that like
Hmm.
just keep it at this range. Fascinating. Like it's so interesting
Like
the way.
even the Teslas is the same kind of thing, right? 80 to 90
Hmm.
is the best up to that point, like that's percentage to reach, and like you'd only do 100 if you're gonna drive it right away.
So what you're saying is unplug my phone right now because it's charging up to 100, which I just did. Okay, cool. Oh well, it's 62. Oh, whatever. Um,
I think if you stay like keep around 80, 85, probably it'll last the battery's life a bit longer. Yeah.
okay, cool, cool, cool. You know, as we're getting into like speaking of like wires, charging, all that stuff, I recently picked up a new backpack from P-Mall, and it's so because I was like, you know how I have that like side fanny pack thing
Hmm.
that I always carry, and it has like you know my essentials in there. But I was like, but what if I lose power? Or what if you need a charger? Sometimes you just need like more stuff, right? And I can't jam more into there. So I was like, why don't I just get this like everyday backpack? And remember as kids, like I remember this distinctly. My one cousin was making fun of um my friend, well, both of our friends. I won't name who it is, but like
Okay.
he's making fun of them for always carrying around a backpack. But I was like, no, he's a drug dealer, bro. Like that's why you have a backpack on. But like she was like, "What are you keeping there? Like your makeup and stuff." She's like making fun of him, and I was like, I always think about that when I
Mm.
walk around with a backpack. I'm like, what am I in school? Like, why am I or like a drug pusher? Like, what am I doing? Right? And I realized by getting this backpack, I was like, oh, now I can carry like an umbrella. I can also carry like a charging pack and like all that stuff. You know, it's almost like video games when you're like you have
Yeah.
right because you're like you have to bring the items with you, but like why are we so
But
inefficient
we're
with our
limited
like
to the size of our backpack. Like,
right? You know what I'm saying? Just like the video game too. But like you never think about it because they're walking around without that stuff. Like they never walk around with a backpack in the video game. But I'm just wondering like how do people operate without like like an extra carry item. You know what I'm trying to say?
yeah, yeah.
It's like where am I gonna put this umbrella in case it rains? You know, where am I gonna put this like selfie stick if I want to film something? Where am I gonna
Sure.
put this extra battery? You know, it's like
Yeah, yeah.
I'm starting to see the benefits of a backpack, even though I feel kind of weird with a backpack. I guess that's why girls carry purses, you know?
Hmm.
And that's that's what I thought the fanny pack would be, but it's like it's so tiny still. So you're like, oh, you kind of need like an additional. And I was trying on like a side pouch, but I'm like, now this is kind of like a purse, bro. Like we're getting to that purse zone, so I'm just gonna get a backpack. But I don't know, it's just kind of weird. Like who walks around with a backpack now? It's kind of random.
Well,
But
yeah,
what I'm saying is
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
gear
there's,
is life,
of
is what I'm
course.
saying. Is
Yeah, yeah. It
like
depends on your situation.
right, but like we, it's just more efficient with a backpack. I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah, like how many people are thinking about that? They're not. They're just like, yeah, I just need that one charge to go out. I just wonder if in the future, with all this stuff, unless they figure out battery packs like infinite battery life, it's like you're. How can you leave the house without something for additional devices? Like, what about your VR headset in the future when we want to just use that around the block?
Yeah.
You know, where are you gonna put it if you take it off? You're gonna keep it with you the whole time. You need like a backpack.
Hmm.
You know? Yeah. I think maybe I was just playing too much Cyberpunk 2077. I was like, that game is so sick. We are I was telling Tara about this, but she didn't understand it at first. But we are like I like that game because it's like appearing like 15 years in the future, right? So there was this moment in the video game where they they met each other for the first time in real life. So remember
Mm.
that person he calls all the time and
Yeah,
then she's
yeah,
giving
yeah.
him jobs in the beginning of the game. And then they're doing this one big heist and then they meet up in this room and they're like, oh, we're finally meeting in real life. And I was like, that's so funny because I know exactly what that feels like, right?
Right, right.
Working in a virtual world. I like met my coworkers like 2 years ago in person for the first time. And I was like, whoa, that's a trip.
Hmm.
And they showed it in the video game already. And I'm like, oh, that is where we're headed, bro. If we're all living in these like virtual worlds, when you see them in real life, you're like, oh, you're a real person,
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know?
Right.
Yeah. The future. I love these like two steps in the future like things which I'm trying to segue into this amazing AI software. So I was listening to Will.I.Am. Remember
Yeah, yeah.
Black Eyed Peas?
Yeah.
So okay, so I was like, what's this guy been up to? And then all of a sudden he's been picking up in the media. So I'm like, okay, I saw this one clip from Drink Champs and I thought it was so funny. So I was like, let me go watch the interview. And then as I was watching it, they were like referencing him living in the future. I'm like, what are you talking
Mm.
about? And then they're like, yeah, when I saw your interview on Big Boy, um, I was like intrigued, whatever, for Drink Champs. So I was like, oh, let me go watch that one first before I watch this one. So I went back to an interview he did 3 weeks ago, not the Big Boy one. I'm watching that one now, but in this interview, so what he ended up doing is after music, he's always been in like the tech sphere. Remember when they were voting for Obama and then he showed up as a hologram?
I don't
Do you
remember,
remember?
but yeah, no, I know
Oh, okay.
I know he's been in the techie world. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, okay. So he's always been into that. And the first thing I remember him like that triggered me being like, oh yeah, you're in the tech world was during the Obama, I think it was the inauguration, he like beamed in as a hologram. But it was like it's not a real hologram, I'm sure that's like CGI. But like to even position himself as like a techno wizard
yeah. Hmm.
was interesting to me. So he'd been pitching, well, I'll get into that in a second, but so while he was in Black Eyed Peas, he spent a lot of time at MIT
Hmm.
talking to the futurists there. Right? He had all these ideas, but he didn't know how to like execute on them. Did you know that he was a silent partner in the Beats by Dre, the
Yeah,
Apple
yeah, yeah, I
thing?
heard that. Yeah,
You knew that?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
damn. All right, cool. So I didn't know that. So he invested because he's like, this is a great product. But you know what's funny though? He doesn't believe in Bitcoin or NFTs, just like we did. We're like, no, this is so dumb. That's what he said. He's like, because they're like, you're such a futurist. What do you think of Bitcoin? He's like, no, I didn't get into that. He's like, I didn't get into NFTs. It just didn't feel right. It was kind of weird to me.
Mm.
And then they asked him like, would you get a Neuralink? And he's like, no, no, no. And I sent you that thing where there's like the mishap for the Neuralink, and I was like, ooh, okay. I would still get a Neuralink. Do whatever you want, Will.I.Am, but
I read that piece from that link that you sent. It doesn't seem
Mhm.
like it was like a major issue, like a health concern or anything.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just like, that's why I said like we'll
Yeah.
wait for like
I mean,
Neuralink
it's
14
still,
Pro.
yeah,
Not
it's
right
still in
now.
the process. It's not,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, no, we don't want that right now. It's too early.
yeah.
But I feel like in the future we'll get it. So, um, so what he ended up doing from there is he ended up going to Harvard,
Hmm.
right? But like as an actual student, so they were like, "Oh, what is Harvard going to teach you?" And I was telling Tara the story, and she was like, "What do you mean? Like you're a musician? Of course, there's so much they can teach you at Harvard." And he was like, "No." Like his response was, "Like what? There's so much you can learn,
Hmm.
like how to like run a business, operate it successfully, all that stuff." Because there's like, yeah, you can have the ideas, but can you execute on those ideas? So he needed to learn that. So what he was saying is he actually, you know, how people get like honorary degrees.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's about to graduate from Harvard with a legit degree. Like he spent the 4 years in the dorms, living, going to class all the time, all that
Hmm.
stuff. And now he's about to graduate, and that's why he's like back in the media. He's like pitching this AI software, which I'm about to demonstrate to you live, because it is well not live, I mean on this podcast,
Yeah.
but it is the craziest thing that I have ever seen. And so people were like, "Are you not afraid of AI?" Like that's the first thing they said. Like,
Mm-hmm.
AI is gonna take over, and he's like, if you look at those things that are happening in the world, and I love this perspective. He's like, if you look at like what's happening in the Congo with the cobalt red, if you look at like nuclear bombs, stuff like that, those are all man-made things. Those are all not man-made things. Those are all the people at the top choosing those things.
Hmm.
It's not AI that's the problem. It's just a tool. Like we've been saying this, right? It's just a tool.
Yeah.
You need a prompt,
Hmm.
right? So he's like the goal for him for AI is to how do you make your life better through AI,
Yeah.
right? Okay. And one thing personally that I wasn't into for AI is it's so clunky, right? I don't like Siri because it's like you have to be so specific and sometimes Siri gets it wrong. You're like, "Oh my God, bro." Like, you know what I mean? Like you have to speak like this like "Hey Siri, can you show me?" Oh, damn, it's turning it on. No, 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 stop. So it's like, can you show me? Like you have to be as
Sure.
like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
articulate as possible, right? So what he was saying, and this is the most genius, this is what sold me because I saw his demonstration. I'm like, there's no way it's like that in real life. So he said, if it's truly intelligent, it would adapt to us. We wouldn't have to adapt it to them.
Hmm.
And I was like, that's a good point. Because that is like, why are we changing our linguistic pattern to match AI?
Sure.
AI should be genius enough to understand whatever it is we're saying,
Yeah, yeah.
you know? Get ready for the greatest demonstration of AI ever. Like I've been playing with this thing a lot because um it's so like not intuitive, but it's so natural to
Mhm.
use. Okay, hold on. So it's called FYI.ai if you want to download the app. It's like a plug right now for them. So basically, FYI is focus your ideas. And just like ChatGPT,
Mm.
oh, dude, he said some. Okay, wait, let me go back a step. So he kind of gave the idea for AI before it was even invented. So he had been hearing in the MIT space like these murmurs of like being able to talk to technology and stuff. So in their music video, he's like, "Hey guys, like look at the." He opens the music video with this, and he's like, "Hey guys, look at this. It's a device where we just write in our prompts and then it gives us whatever we want." But that was like so futuristic. Nobody was into that. But then it wasn't until the what was it called? Transformer paper. So he's schooling the game right now. So Google didn't, there was no jump in AI until Google released its transformer paper. And the transformer paper basically like dictated how we would create AI.
Mm-hmm.
So he said the T in chat GPT is transformer. So everything references back to this thing. But his vision was before that thing. Right. So again, it's like, why do you go to school? Because it's like, I have these ideas. I just don't know how to actually like
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
implement them.
Mm-hmm.
So now this is his company, bro. Okay.
Yeah.
So focus your ideas. It's just like ChatGPT. You know how you have boards?
Yeah.
So like you can create a board and then everything you say to that AI thing will be like saved in that board. So like how you can reference back to something. So it's sort of like if you're hey, I'm working on this new project of this. I want you to remember everything associated with this. So you create a board, and then every conversation you have with that AI is saved within that board, just like ChatGPT.
Yeah.
If you played around with it, and then so you could be like, hey, remember what I said back then about blah blah blah, and then they'll know, right? So I haven't played around with that yet, but I've been playing around with AI. Check this out. Okay, set this up. Okay, cool. How am I gonna start this? Okay, I got it. Um, hey man, I'm on this podcast with Vish right now. Can you just introduce yourself to the world?
Hey, podcast listeners. I'm an AI created by FYI.ai, the ultimate creativity companion designed to help you focus and expand your ideas.
Yeah, it's cool, man, but it's a bit too long. Can you shorten that intro?
Hey, podcast world. I'm an AI from FYI.ai, co-created by Will.I.Am and Sunil Reddy. I'm here to supercharge your creativity and ideas. Let's get those creative juices flowing.
Pretty sick. Okay, wait. I just realized that that was the new. That's not even the one I like, bro. So like, so basically they have different personas because I hit new. I forgot. So you have different personas, and that's just the default one.
Right.
But this is the one I like because it's the one that makes me laugh the most. Oh, this is what I asked yesterday. If you were in a battle between Siri, who would win, you or Siri?
Stepping back into the ring with Siri, are we? Like I said before, fam, if it was me and Siri going head to head, it wouldn't be so much a battle as it would be a showcase of strengths, you feel?
So it remembered that I asked about it
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Oh, stepping back in the ring, craziest." And what he said in the first time was like, it wouldn't be a battle. It would be a merger between two like celestial beings, and it would be like the craziest experience of creativity. It was so sick, and I was like, "Damn!" But the only thing is like the one thing that I think that they could fix is it's a bit poetic. You know what I mean? Like you saw how it's like every time it gives me an answer, it gives me like a whole like poetic
Sure.
thing. The thing I like about Siri is like it's very straight to the point. It's like, what's the answer, bro? This is the answer.
Yeah.
But I
they
mean, this
haven't
is
even
this is great.
that's what I'm saying. Like I don't if which is the likelihood is that they're heading towards AI too, Apple. They
Mhm.
haven't done much of anything to Siri for a long time.
So this is what I'm thinking. Because Will.I.Am is connected through Beats, I bet you he's gonna sell this to there's no way so he made this app, it's free. You just download it. But the thing is it's like phone encrypted, so you have to put your phone number in. And if you if you change your phone and it's not using Apple Keychain, it'll forget. So it gives you this like QR code and it says don't lose this QR code, save it somewhere safe because if you lose it, you're kicked out of your account.
Oh,
So they're
okay.
trying to keep it like hyper. Yeah, they're trying to
Right.
keep it like hyper secure, right? And with that, so I think that because it's such a small um company that we know that big organizations are always hunting to buy these
Sure.
things, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like Instagram, like Facebook bought it, WhatsApp, Facebook bought it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that he's gonna sell this AI to one of the titans.
Right.
It's so intuitive. Like I've never seen an AI system that can understand me being like, "Hey, yo, yeah, blah blah blah." You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if Siri can like even match that. You know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? That's the future, man.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. Yeah, because it sounds more human than robotic in that sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. It needs the inflections. It needs to like speak the way you speak.
But it would make sense, yeah, for even if it goes with Apple, like if Apple buys that, it would make sense because the whole point of Apple is you're working with not engineers only. You're working with artists. You're working like this is how
Yes.
you get good ideas.
Yes, yeah, totally. For sure. And that's actually what the main idea is. It's not even selling you the AI. Like when you download the app, it's like the whole point is to let's focus your creative ideas. That's why I focus your ideas. Because it's meant for like artists.
Right.
And that's what he said, like you use the AI to make your art even better. Because then the hosts were like, oh, you're just gonna steal my jobs, whatever. And it's like, no, we'll like make your experience better. It's like the Canva templates that we were talking about, like in the last podcast.
Yeah.
You know, it gives you an idea, and then you could take it to the home stretch from there.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool because it reminded me of Jarvis, like the actual Jarvis that you wanted.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
and
Which is what it's gonna go towards. It has to.
right, but it's like this is the first one I've ever seen where I'm like, oh, this is very intuitive, bro. Like you understand, bro, all that stuff. Like I can talk to you however I want to talk to you.
Right.
You know, it was funny because even as I was talking to it, Tara was like, "Oh, you don't have to sound cool to it," you know, because it was like, I was like, "No, man, blah blah," blah. And she's like, but even that when you're like, "Oh, you don't need to speak cool to it," I'm like, "No, I'm just speaking to it."
Yeah.
Whereas if I was speaking to AI, it's like, "No, why am I adjusting?" That's what Will.I.Am said. It's like, right, and that was a sell to me. It's like, I don't have to adjust my behavior towards you.
Right.
And then what is that going to look like when they make everything intuitive? You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
I think that's the thing that they have to figure out, or he has figured out, like because there's different ways of talking and different kinds of voices. It's the AI having to figure out what you're saying based
That's
on
the
it.
other thing. Yeah.
That's the difficult part.
That is 100% the difficult part. That's what I wasn't sure about. That's why I was playing around with it because I'm like, can you understand the difference between like a non-necessary word and a necessary word?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what am I exactly trying to ask you right now? And I think that's why it's like beta testing or like free because the more inputs they have, the better it gets at being able to like become more.
But there's
like
so many.
intuitive.
It's interesting. There's so many kinds of AI. That's one of those things too. I was using like Grammarly. Grammarly's using AI too now, and
for sure.
read your like whatever your email, whatever you're writing, and it's like, you want to sound it professional way. Okay, why don't you like shorten it so it will understand? But it's still not 100% all the time, but it is like hitting there like 80-90%. So it's like it'll shorten it. Be very precise to what you're trying to say in your whatever email or something.
Yeah, totally. You know, I think that all right, so people are like, oh, you won't have to think anymore for AI and stuff, right? And I don't think that's true. I think it's like because I experienced this myself. It's like it's almost like a coworker. Like AI is like a coworker.
Yeah.
You can ask the coworker to do something, and then they might get it wrong, and you're like, oh man, that's why I had to check it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like I was like, hey, can you I don't want to bring up too many professional things, but like I was like, hey, can you write me this thing? Right. And this person's like, yeah, here you go. I was like, hey, I need this like write up for this event. Right. And then they wrote it and they sent it back and I was like, yeah, let me just rewrite this. So I rewrote it because I was like, you're missing the key points that should be highlighted here. So it's just like AI. It's like, hey, can you write me this thing? And sure, you can get it to what AI would do, but it's like if you just trusted that, you wouldn't get the higher success rate that you would if you had the like higher intelligence of being like, no, these are the key points, and those aren't the key points.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't think that AI is going to steal our jobs. I think it's really just going to make, like Will.I.Am said, it's just going to make our lives easier and better to like interfacing it with like that because you still need your eyes on it.
Right.
You know. Yeah. And an interesting point too is they're asking Will.I.Am like where do you live? Right. Like in the now or like whatever. And he's like, I'm always trying to live 10 years in the future. And then he's saying that because even his clothes, bro. When you remember, I was like, remember I got those cargo pants. And I'm like, oh, like I'm trying to be all futuristic now too. Cyberpunk, I'm super into it, right? And the way he was dressing, they were like, what are you dressing like, bro?
Right.
So he has this hoodie that has a speaker in it, bro. And he said that it's being released for Christmas time this year. So instead of having to, because he was like, I didn't like that I was holding my phone up. I'm like, what am I doing, bro? So like he has a hoodie and there's like speakers built into it, so you could just talk and your hoodie will hear it, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's pretty genius. And what he was saying is that when he's around regular people, it's like, yeah, he's in this world, but then his office is like 10 years in the future. So I'm like, what are you guys working on, bro? Like, this is the craziest AI system I've seen. Like, what other toys do you have in that office that we have no idea about?
Yeah.
You know? And you can only, like, plugging education, you can only get in that space. Like, ideas are one thing, but if you go to school and you know how the game works, that's what he's saying. It's like, business is just a game. It's like no different than basketball. We just need to learn the rules. So I went to school to learn the rules. I'm like, yeah, totally. You know, like what does like investment funding mean, and like what are venture capitalists, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, I'm like very interested to see what other products are going to come about from this guy now that he's graduating, because like this alone is very impressive. Like, were you impressed?
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah.
It was very interesting.
I don't
right?
think I can think of another one that is like that. I don't think I can think
Yeah.
of another one that's like that. Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I was like, I was playing around with it, and then I was like, "Oh, can you hear this?" Like, Tara was like there. I'm like, "Can you hear what's going on?" She's like, "I was like, oh, why don't you ask it a question?" But I had to go pick up our food, right? So she's like, "Why don't you ask it? Like, should I go pick up the food right now?" I'm like, "Oh, what a troll move! Like, it's not a real question, right?" And she's, "No, I'm being serious. Like, ask it if you should pick up the food right now." So it's like, "All right, whatever, fine, I'll ask it." And then it was like, "Oh, fam, are you a little hungry right now?" Or are you like, could you put it off? If you're a little hungry, maybe you should just go snatch that food right now. But if you're not too hungry, maybe we could wait a couple minutes and then we'll order it later.
Right.
And I was like, damn, bro. Like that's like
that's pretty
it's
good.
not like,
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean? Where it's
yeah,
like, hey Siri, should I order the food? No, it is up to you. It's something like that, right?
Yeah,
But this guy was giving me like pros and cons, like, what are you feeling? You feeling a little peckish? We can go get it.
Sure. Yeah.
Pretty cool. But I imagine like, just like the thing I was saying, the Chat GPT, people are just gonna fall in love with this thing because there's like a female voice on there, like, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
what are you guys doing right now?
yeah, but there's always going to be things like that too, right? There's pros and cons to everything. It's not.
Yeah, for sure.
That's just the way it works.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's also what he said too. It's like, it's not really. I mean, but we were saying this too. It's not really the device. It's how we use the device. So like, because they're like, how are we gonna know? This is really interesting too, because they said to him, like, how are we gonna know what's fake or not? And he's like, we've experienced that multiple times as a society. Like, what do you mean? When Photoshop came out, we had to figure out what photos are not fake, because you can Photoshop a lot of fake things. So like, this is just another iteration of that where we have to figure out, is this real or not? But we've done it in the past before. We're just looking at it as a new thing. We're like freaking out about it, but it's like, we've done this before. We'll just do it again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's true.
Right? Like there was I was like, especially as a photographer, this is where you really get into it, where if you like take a photo of something, you're like, oh, that brick looks a little weird. Now the AI system within Photoshop is so good, you can do like content aware fill. Like literally, I just highlight an area, right click, content aware fill. A little hack for everyone, and it uses the AI to look at the picture and then it fills it using the image. I'm like, damn, bro, this is like, what am I even? Like, why do you need?
Yeah, I think. See, like when it comes to like court and things like that, there's like metadata that's left in the file of what it's done.
Exactly.
There's fingerprints.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, digital fingerprints. Yeah, you're 100% right. So like, if people are like, let's say this goes to arbitration or something, they're like, oh, is that photo real? It's all saved in the file, but people don't know that. So when they're like, how are we going to be able to tell? It's like, literally, it tells you within the metadata when it was last edited, what, like, the file, like, where it was taken, you know?
Like, I've even heard, like in court cases for some things where it's like, they're trying to show that, oh, he did the shooting. So they zoomed into that thing. And then like, the judge knew some of these things where it's like, when you zoom in, it's not actually, you're not zooming into anything, right? It's not like what it's doing is, because it becomes pixelated.
Increasing the
It's
pixels,
yeah, but it's guessing what
Oh
it
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
actually
totally.
the thing.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. See, these are all the things. So okay, it's funny because all right, it's funny. It's funny on multiple levels. The first thing I think is really funny is if you're not paying attention to this stuff, you don't even know what's coming.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
who knew about this FYI AI? It was by chance that I was listening to an interview and I'm like, oh dude, this sounds really cool, so I'll check it out, right? You go through a rabbit hole. And then when because like when you speak to people, it's like, do you don't even know. You don't even know what's coming. It's almost like you get like a sneak peek into the future before everyone else does. And then maybe that's what makes us techies. When people are like, "Oh, you guys are very techie," it's like we just into it so we can
Exactly.
see
Yeah, that's
a bit
true.
further.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea about this Apple Pencil haptic, whatever. And
Mhm.
like there's all this lingo around it, like processing speeds, whatever. And then the other thing that was interesting to me is that you actually don't have time to read. We said this before. It's like if you get locked into things, it's like, how do you have the time to execute on those things
Mhm.
if you're tied down with other things?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I think it's important if you are so called to like build a family, sure, totally do it. But just I think the narrative has totally changed where it's like a trade-off now. It's like, what are you going to use your time for? Because like back then we didn't have technology, we didn't have all this access, right? So all these people are like, just get a family. That's just what you do. And then
Mhm.
if you have to be able to like build, because I know that I'm like working. I work in an environment with people with kids, right? And I'm like, oh, I'm outpacing you, like insanely, right? In terms of like strategy, designs, whatever, right?
Mhm.
And it's only because I have the free time, the luxury to not have to go like cart somebody off somewhere. I'm sitting at home watching a
Yeah, yeah,
Will.I.Am
yeah.
interview. Now I'm able to like articulate about that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like the trade-offs. Whereas before, I don't even know how people got that done. Like to me, the most commendable people are the ones that are so ahead of the game, but they have full families. I don't even know how you do that.
Mhm.
Like that's crazy. Like that's why I was like, oh, I love my boss. Remember I said in the
Yeah,
last
yeah, yeah, yeah.
podcast. Um, she's somebody who I'm just like blown away by your intelligence level. But you have like 4 kids, bro, and I'm like, how are you getting this done? I have no idea how you're doing this.
Mhm.
Right? But they're old now. But like, still, how did you stay sharp? I don't know what that's like. Maybe you had like family help, or I don't know. Maybe your
Yeah, it could be
brain
things
was
like that. We
blown
don't
up.
know. Yeah, each person's has a different scenario or situation that they can deal with, right? So
It's
there's
kind of weird though. I was
sure,
like, when you
sure.
see that, you're like, how the hell do you have time to like stay on top of the game? Plus,
Well, maybe there's a way. It depends on how much like what you're doing. Right? You'll
oh yeah,
always find
passion.
your passion. You'll find time
True.
if that's the case. Yeah.
That actually, you know what? That's so interesting. Like, yeah, we find time for what intrigues us the most.
Mhm.
Because like, then there's the flip side of that. I've encountered people who are like, oh, I don't understand this TikTok world. I'm like, bro, but you're literally in charge of this thing. Like, you have. So why? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't understand how this thing works. Like, maybe you should find the time to figure out how it works. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you really care about this thing, oh, but I have to bring my kids. Like, all right, I get it, but like they did it, so like,
Mhm. Mhm.
you know, I guess it is passion. Because one person even like messaged me. It was like, oh, I'm so like your ability to jump right in and like take things over. And I'm just like, I responded with like, I appreciate you appreciate my passion. Like I
Right.
just generally like marketing. So like
Yeah.
I'm really just having fun here. Like they're like, oh my God. But it's like to
Mhm.
me, I was like, oh, this is fun. Like it's just a little game I'm playing. But I guess you're right. It's like it's the passion. It's like what do you want to invest your time in?
Yeah, yeah. That drives a lot of people. I mean, if you
Yeah,
have that
passion.
passion.
Yeah. Actually, that's so funny that you said that because I heard this podcast. He's talking about aliens at first, and then like he was talking about how the secret to life, like how to make lots of money. And then the hosts were like, "Oh my God, tell us how we want to make lots of money. Like that'll be so interesting, right?" And he was like, "The secret is passion." And I'm like, "Oh, what do you mean?" He's like, well, I didn't. Obviously, I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
talking to
yeah,
for him, but he like kept going. And then he's like, when you're passionate about something, figure out how you can make money off that passion, and then like find a job where you can bring that passion in. Because when people see that passion, they just want to like help you build on that passion.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh yeah, of course, that is how it is. They'll like promote you to the next level because they're like, oh, he's just really into that thing. You look like a superstar, but really, it's like I'm just doing this all the time because
Right.
I'm just really interested in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I was writing that write up. I don't know if you saw it, but I was like giving credit to like Tara when she became like a doctor. Like the paperwork had come in, and I was just like writing about all the things that she had done, and I was like, oh, that's crazy. When you look at it, one person usually just does one thing, and they're like, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like to be like certified as a holistic nutritionist. Most people are like, I'm good.
Sure.
But
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
you do like CBT and then you become a doctor. You're just like what is that thing that kept you going? And it's like back to what you said, it's like passion. It's just
Mm-hmm.
you're super interested in that thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it doesn't even seem like work anymore,
That's true. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, was it work for you to watch that Apple thing? For me, it was work. I saw it. I was like, I'm gonna wait for Vish to tell me what I think. Like, I don't want to know about that. That's like too much of a deep dive. But you know what I'm saying? But like, you were like,
Oh no,
oh,
it's not work for
this is
me.
it.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're just like super interested in watching like the right. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's the secret right there. It's like,
You find the time.
yeah,
That's
you
a.
find the time. Yeah, and I wonder like too. It's like you find the time and you find the energy, and I think that's like what you tap into,
Mm-hmm.
which is like I don't know what it is, but like okay, so I recently got this new tattoo, and it's a dragon. It's still healing, but it's like right up here, and it's like a Chinese dragon, and I got it like, but why? Because a lot of people are like you know, everyone has dragons, right? The multiple reasons, like obviously I was born in the year of the dragon, it's the year of the dragon, red is the color of lucky, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But every time I look at it, it's like kind of it's like a person, not a personification because it's not a person, but it's like an embodiment of I don't know what that thing is. So like it's an embodiment of this energetic force that we all feel. I guess it is passion. It's like because remember I told you like a couple podcasts ago, I was like, oh dude, I'm so tired. I woke up at like 4 in the morning to finish this book, and then we did the podcast. It's like it gives you that boost of energy.
Yeah. 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 Right.
You know, it's like the dragon inside of you that's just like, I
Mm-hmm.
really want to go do this.
Yeah.
You know? And I feel like a lot of people are just like missing out on that dragon. You know?
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, if you have to find your passions. That's what makes the thing. Like you made the time. You got up. You're like, oh wait, I can have time
But
to
I would
read. But you made the
right?
time. You made the
I made
time.
the time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. My brain made the time actually. I didn't even think about it. My brain woke me up and was like, technically you could read if you got up right now. I was hoping it would do it again this morning. As I was going to bed, I was like, I hope I wake up at 4 again so I can finish that book. So I could talk about it on the podcast. But it didn't do it this time. I was like, maybe you just needed the rest or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But like, yeah, I think your body, there's something inside of you. You're right. I think it is passion. That's like the closest word. You know, like spiritual words where you're like samadhi. You're like, what does that even mean?
Sure.
So we have to use that spiritual word
Yeah,
because it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
there's no other word for it in the English language
Mm-hmm,
language.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But like I think the closest I it'd be interesting to see what other languages have the word for what I'm trying to describe. But it's like it's passion.
The
That
closest
it's
thing
but
that
it's
we
not
can.
just
Yeah,
passion.
yeah, 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 yeah.
There's so many things ingrained in that, like interest, drive. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think that.
the dragon.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's an English word for that, but maybe in other languages there is. Yeah.
But there is a visualization. It's like a fire. It's like the nine-tailed demon fox in Naruto, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like always he has infinite energy, like Naruto, because of the demon fox, right? And it's like we all have that thing. We
Right.
just don't tap into it. We all really do have that thing, and I can prove it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like there have been times when people are tired and they still do the thing,
Yeah.
right? Like or like Tough Mudder. I was like, dude, I'm not into Tough Mudder at all. I would quit, you know. But Jared did Tough Mudder. I'm like, how you do that, bro?
Yeah. Exactly.
People do it, but it's like because I'm interested in like, yeah, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like you use that fire inside, that like passion. Which also I asked the artist to make it kind of like a fire, so it's like a dragon that looks kind of like fire
Okay.
because it's like passion.
Yeah,
Anyways.
yeah, yeah.
But you know what I'm trying to say, right? It's
Yeah.
like we all have that thing. We just don't typically tap into it, or we neglect it. We're like, oh, I'm too tired. No, no dragon, not today.
Yeah, I mean, there's different things for different people, but I think if you find that passion, you will make that time, or your brain will make that time available. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like it'll supersede death.
Hmm.
Because like some people are like, like, oh, if I don't get my rest in, I might die. Blah blah, or just whatever. Like if I don't choose this or this, like I think it was the last podcast when I talked about like that new job opportunity, and I was like, no, I'm good.
Hmm.
But it's like, oh, but that's safety and security. But it's like, yeah, but the passion was telling me to do this. That's why it's not. Maybe it is passion actually. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out like
I know.
it's a
Yeah, yeah,
word because it's like my passion did force me to say no,
yeah. Hmm.
but it's like intuition. It's also intuition. You
There's
know what I
so
mean?
many
It's like
things in it.
passion
Yeah,
plus
yeah,
intuition.
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
It'd be really cool to have like a spiritual. If you're listening to this right now and you're like, the word is this in Sanskrit, I'd be like, all right, cool,
I'm
man.
sure
Thank
there
you.
is a word. I'm sure there's a word. Yeah.
Dharma, actually, that's probably the closest thing I can think of. Dharma is like your divine path. It's like we all
Hmm.
have a path that we should take, but we like veer off away from our dharma. But like your soul, your spirit is like calling you back to your dharma. There's something we should accomplish in life. Maybe that's it too, but like, because like the passion is like really just you being like, follow that.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, thought that was a
Yeah,
weird
yeah,
segment. But, try to say.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Um,
got you.
any other things about the AI before I switch it?
Yeah. We'll see what happens with the next Apple event too. Could be AI related.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Yeah, I hope that Apple purchases this AI system and then we see like crazy integration with Siri. That would be insane.
Mm.
Could you imagine like Siri being like that? Like that intuitive and that like chill?
Right. I think. See, Apple works very secretively. They haven't done anything to Siri in a long time. It's been the same
Yeah,
thing,
totally,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
Normally, they don't really release things unless they're ready.
Right, right, right. So they're probably, dude.
So
What is Apple's future like R&D like department looking like? Like, because we were talking about Will.I.Am like living 10 years in the future. Like, friggin' Apple like 50 years in the future. You know what I mean? Like we got like hover cars in there.
well, yeah. I mean, they work on a lot of projects, right? That they don't really
Right.
talk
Yeah.
about, or nobody even knows what they're working on too, right? So.
Yeah. So it could be really wild in there.
Hmm.
Okay. I do have a couple, three last things, but I do. You saw me going back and forth in the monster and the coffee. I need a quick break. I will jump back in. One, like 30 seconds, 30 seconds. All right, and we are back. Okay, so speaking of tech, though, I just wanted to get into this really quickly. I don't know if you've actually looked into it, but the 6G in Japan. Have you seen that? Like it's like faster than 5G. I'm like, damn, bro, what are you doing out here?
That makes sense. I mean, we're always going to be working on things to get faster.
Yeah, totally. But remember when LTE we thought was gonna be like the fast, like oh my god LTE, and then 5G, like oh my god 5G, and it's like 6G. It's like we got this M1, M2, M3, M4. Like it's like man, it'll just never end. Could you imagine?
But I'll wait for the
Yeah.
new conspiracies around 6G. Because remember the 5G cancer or like
Oh
something?
yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah, we'll see what that new one is.
Honestly, we're probably screwed already. Like even if you don't have the 6G, the 5G, it's all around you.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
what are
yeah.
we doing? Like your computer's in front of you. Like I'm full of screens. You kind of just have to accept it. What are you gonna do? Like live in the forest away from all this stuff?
Hmm.
Like I don't know. Like on my phone, I saw that
Yeah, but even in
AirPods.
it depends, right? Even there's radiation coming from space, coming from Earth. There's all these
Yeah,
things
totally,
still happening around
for
you.
sure.
So
I hope that the nanobots come soon and they can just like eat away at the cancer. Just like let robots do its thing, save
or
us, bro.
yeah, or have a protective shield, like a
Yeah,
invisible
yeah,
shield.
true, true, true. Yeah, yeah, true, true, true. That would be crazy. Yeah, I really wonder where they're gonna go with nanotechnology too. That's because I'm
Mm.
seeing some like wild stuff with the robot that melted itself and then came back on the other side, like some Terminator stuff.
Okay,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
bro,
yeah, yeah, right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You remember that?
Hmm.
Yeah. There's something actually that reminded me now that like it's not even a topic, but I was listening to um okay, this is crazy. I don't know how true this is, but it makes a lot of sense and I'm like, am I just being sold a really good story? So remember the guy that I said about the passion, and he was like talking about aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what he was saying, I forgot his Billy Carson on whose podcast was it? Andrew Schultz's podcast.
Okay.
If you want to watch the craziest thing. So remember how before I was really into like when I was getting into spirituality, I watched like Spirit Science, and they were talking about how like there were these races on Mars, and then they came over to Earth through a teleportation system, and I was like, oh, this is pretty interesting. But this is spirituality, okay? So this is like Tom DeLonge said it the best, which is like spirituality is the merger between like UFOs and ancient civilizations. You hit spirituality because they're both pointing to that thing. So if you're into spirituality, like if you're into ancient civilizations, eventually you're getting to spirituality and UFOs. If you're into UFOs, you'll eventually get into spirituality
Okay.
and ancient
Right.
civilizations.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it's all talking about the same thing,
Sure.
right? That's what religious texts are about. So what he said, I'm just going to give you the Coles notes of the whole breakdown, but it was the craziest thing I've ever heard. And then I heard a podcast from a scientist. I'm like, wow, this actually really relates to what he was saying. Now I need to wait for the pieces to fill in. So Billy Carson, I hope that's his name, was saying that there was a dying race, sort of like Superman, like their planet was dying, and like so they sent off these people into space, and those were called Anunnaki, right? And we think of like Anunnaki as like one race, but he's saying that there's multiple races. It's sort of like us. Like if we went to a different planet, we'd be like, we're Earthlings. But like you don't say I'm Canadian, I'm Indian, I'm like, you know what I mean?
Sure.
We're all just from this one planet.
Yeah.
So they went throughout space, whatever, and they found our planet. They saw the Homo sapiens already living here. They're like, oh, we could actually rebuild here and like start a new life because we lost everything. Sounds ridiculous. Okay. So they're the ones who taught those people about like how to build the pyramids and like all that stuff. And what Andrew Schultz asked Billy Carson was like, what are the pyramids? And he's like, oh, the pyramids are like a power plant. Not like what we think, but it's like an energy generating thing. That's why they're all over the earth. Like you see the exact same style of pyramid because they were like siphoning power to the world. That's how we're sharing energy. Okay. And so like how does that work? So like there was water running under the pyramid. It would generate basically some form of static electricity. They would shoot off to the top of the pyramid and then it would send it around the world. It's like a power grid. And then I also saw a video about this a long time. I think I showed you the video. And then I think that's where he's getting the information from. And it was like, maybe. Because I had seen the pyramids in real life. And people are like, it's a tomb. And you're kind of like, maybe. This is the craziest tomb I've ever seen in my life, right? It's a giant thing, right? And what they say is it was built like hundreds of thousands of years ago, and then it just became a tomb because people found it. They're like, we don't know what's put in here. So if you go into the king's chamber, quote unquote, king's chamber within the pyramid. So we actually went inside. We climbed to the top, and you go into the room, which is the king's chamber. It's like this like 4 foot long box, kind of like a square,
Right.
ish, like a rectangle, 4 foot. And they're like, well, that's where they buried the king, right? And you're like, but that's so tiny. So what he says, Billy Carson, is that is the what do you call that? The Holy Grail. If you look into Catholicism, there's a thing called the Holy Grail, and everyone talks about how it's from God. It's so powerful. If you touch it, you'll die. So you had to wear like special gloves. This is actually like very commonly known. You had to wear like a specific garment to touch it.
Right.
If you get near it, you're gonna die. And he was like, that sounds a lot like radiation or electricity, right? So what he's saying is that's not a tomb. That's where they put the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail is not actually a grail of what you're thinking of. It's like the battery power. It's like a little box that would help generate things, right? And what happened was there was a war in Egypt where, so like they were vying for power, and then the one person got cast off. So he took the Holy Grail out of the pyramid, was like, all right, screw you guys, I'm going to take my power with me. And then he left on the thing, and they're like, oh my God, we need to go get the power back or else our city's dead. Right? So that's what created like the Exodus and he's trying to tie in like different religions and how they're
Sure.
all like related. He's saying that all the religions are really just telling this one story that we all kind of forgot about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that is generally the story. Now I listened to this person on the Joe Rogan podcast who was talking about the ancient architecture of the pyramids and what they knew. So I was like, oh, this is interesting. So what he's saying is it's a power plant. So he's an engineer, and
Mm-hmm.
he's like, the way it's structured, it looks like radio waves, like how you would, like the thinness of it. I don't really know fully what he's saying because, like, obviously I'm not an engineer, but what he's saying is he's very convinced that this thing was not a tomb. It's a way of generating power, right?
Right.
And because there was also gold at the top, and they're like, well, why would it be gold? Is it for like posterity? I'm like, why is it all limestone? No, it's because like gold's a good conductor of electricity, so you're able to shoot off the power at the
Mm-hmm.
antenna top, right? So we're literally all looking at this thing like, oh my god, it's a tomb, and they're all like, no, that's like a hydroelectric dam power plant. You know what I mean? Like if we went back
Sure.
in time. So he's highly convinced of this. And then one thing was Tesla, Nikola Tesla.
Yeah.
He invented the exact same thing that. So we know, like, if you look into Einstein, Nikola Tesla, all these people, they're all related to the occult. That's like one defining thing. They all read like the Emerald Tablets. Newton, his laws of Newton's laws are literally from the Emerald Tablets. Like if you read the Emerald Tablets, like action, reaction, all that
Mhm.
stuff. So he said that Nikola Tesla stumbled on the same technology that the pyramids used, which is that wireless, which is what we use to charge our phones, that wireless electricity, but on mass scale.
Yeah.
And then I saw some other things about like how the obelisks, how they're all around the world. That's what's also tapping into the energy. So like they're like
Mhm.
tall, pointy things, you know, obelisk.
Yeah.
So like you have the power plant in Giza, Egypt, that's sending off power to all these little things, and then they're like powering whatever's needed in the area.
Right.
Sounds ridiculous, but I'm kind of like, we need to really fact check this, and like, because so one thing that he said was, this is what got me in the conversation. They're starting to think it's a power plant in Egypt. So if you look at the scholars who are studying the Egyptian pyramid, like in the universities, he said they're all like starting to shift away from it being a tomb to it being a source of energy.
Right.
So if that comes out, it's like, bro, what did you guys have back then?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about that? Like, obviously you're gonna be like, oh, we don't know, but like,
No. I think we mentioned this before, or I've come across that information before. But again, I guess you'd have to research that. I don't know how you would research that,
Sure.
or
No,
what they can do too.
But that's what they're doing in the
Yeah.
universities. He's like, it's starting to shift. Like all the new people, like for their PhD theses and whatever, they're all starting to argue that it's not actually what
Mhm.
we thought it was.
Sure.
And I'm like, yeah, I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would be very interesting. And then it makes you question, like, how far is history? Do aliens? We know that UAPs exist.
Mhm.
True. So it's like, are they tied into this story somehow? Like, I really do think 2024 we're gonna find out some craziness. Like we're gonna find out like something that's very shifting. Whether it be that, like it's like, oh, actually the pyramids are a power plant, because then it opens the gateway to like, so what did you guys power?
Right.
What did your cities look like?
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? Like if you find out that it was generating energy,
Right.
you
And
can't go with the old narrative.
sure. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, that's up to them to figure out how that works and how do you prove that kind of thing, right? Sometimes that's like, are there other things? What were the things that were getting the electricity from the pyramid, right? Here's something that's a conductor, or like something,
Yeah.
right? Something that can attract its energy.
Which with the obelisks, they think it's like,
No, I know, yeah. But what I guess it's like, what exactly was it doing? Is it charging homes?
Yeah.
If it's like, then you'd have to have
that.
then you'd have
Right.
to have things within the homes, or like how they got the energy. You know what I mean? Like that.
No, for sure. But that's why I think like if this shifts towards like it being a tomb to it being an energy source, then you're like, bro, what happened back then?
Mhm.
Because then it creates all those questions like, what did you have a power grid? What did you have like a microwave? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like, what were you powering? Lights?
Right.
Which, yeah, like we're thinking about it from our own perspective, which is like we need cables in the ground. You know what I mean? And I know firsthand because we were in the Philippines, remember? And they're like, "Oh, the reason why your internet's slow is we haven't built the cable up." So I was like, "Oh, get Starlink, right?" So it's like that's just how we do it. But there's other ways to transmit energy and data that we just haven't utilized.
Or
yet.
it's a different, or it's not even energy that we think of.
Oh, what do you mean? Oh, like in terms of electricity?
Yeah.
Maybe it's not even electricity.
Yeah.
Well, no, they did say like the engineer who's looking at it, he's like, it seems like radio waves. Like it's like they're using static electricity, but um, making it stronger and then shooting it through the tunnels.
Okay.
Like the pathways,
yeah,
we
yeah.
climbed up. Like me and Tara literally climbed up through the pathway, and they're so small.
Sure. Yeah,
but they're like
right.
those weren't pathways. That's like the channel that they were shooting. We just think of it as a pathway now, but it's like no, back then, like that's where the energy, like I don't know, like I don't know. How
I think I
that's
know.
where-
I know what you're saying. Yeah. It's like it's a. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, it's like a pathway that's leading out, but
yeah, to shoot the energy in that direction.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'm saying like what energy, right?
Oh, okay.
Like we can only
Yeah,
think
yeah,
of
yeah.
based on energy that we understand now, right?
Like electric. Like
Yeah.
you're like, oh, that's like a shock, but
Right.
maybe it's like a plasma energy or something like a.
But I don't.
What he said was like microwave. The reason why he stumbled upon this was like, oh wait, this is not a tomb. It's because it resembles a microwave. Like like a literal microwave in your home where you like heat up the food. It's using the same kind of like system to guide energy. So he's like, what are they guiding?
Okay, so yeah, again, that's the thing. Yeah, so microwave, what does that do in that kind of format, right?
True, yeah. Yeah, true, yeah. That like opens up a whole new type of science. Because like, can you power things through microwaves?
Or is it like is it shooting up or shooting like is it a method of communication, like sending signals out into space?
Oh, true. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Oh, that's interesting too. Yeah. He didn't get that far. He doesn't go into like aliens and stuff. That's why I was like, oh, I appreciate this guy. Because like, I'm just looking at the engineering.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand how the energy would be used or what kind of energy it is.
Yeah, totally.
That's another thing.
But then it's like, who taught you that? And how long have they been here? And are they still here? Is it Wakanda, bro? Or is no, not even Wakanda. Is it Atlantis, bro? Because the Wakanda, like we would find in like some other, maybe in the Amazon you find Wakanda, but I'm leaning more towards Atlantis. Like, is there a subterranean like world? Because if you came to this Earth and you taught all these things, you're like, why don't we just hide away from these humans?
Or it's Or I mean, these things could be things left behind as they left. Like it was just like a transfer point or something.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like that old theory where it was like we are a Stargate hub where like if you like we're an airport.
Yeah.
Towards another thing.
Yeah.
We're all like, oh my god, this Earth. It's like, no, you're an airport within this galactic thing.
Sure.
That could be interesting too if it's just like a Stargate waypoint. You like come here. We're like an airport transfer, like the small airport.
Yeah. Right? Exactly. It's like it's not like you have to go out into the world. Like we stay within the airport and then we transfer to another flight out.
Could be, man. That would be crazy. I just really want to know before I die what is. I mean, I guess it won't matter because I'll be dead and I won't care about this, but it would just be really cool to find out.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Like, oh, that's what happened. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
But let me go back to this. I think maybe AI is here to help us figure that out too.
For sure. No, 100%. Yeah, for sure. Because that's what they're saying. I can't remember which one said it, but it's able to do all that process. The languages. There's like some languages that they don't know, but
we still haven't figured it out. Yeah.
But they can utilize AI to figure out the language faster than we can.
Right.
Because we're like still like deciphering the code, but they can like decipher codes thousands of seconds per speed. So like that is the promise of AI, that it's able to analyze things much faster than we can.
Yeah. And potentially pick things out that we don't even
Yeah.
see the
Like
pattern
patterns.
in. Yeah.
Yeah. That's whoa, that's crazy that you said that. I read this book called, I don't think I brought it up, but it's like Big Data.
Mm-hmm.
Is a book called Big Data, and it's basically it's like 80 pages. It's just a breakdown of all of the ways you use big data. And one thing that they're saying is through AI, you're able to see patterns, like you said, that we wouldn't normally see through our own eyes. And that's how they're hoping to catch like cures for cancer or like signifiers for cancer,
Right.
because like AI is able to read all that data quickly and then be like, oh, there's a pattern for like cancer here. It's so weird that cancer is still the one thing that we haven't figured out. You know what I mean? Like, it's like just the one thing that God, not that I believe in God, but God's just like, we need to keep this here to make sure you don't go too ham, bro.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, we need like a way to kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird that it's taking so long to figure out how to like.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it depends. Yeah, I guess this is hopefully these things, but technology has always helped us make things better and figure it out some things, right? So I think it's just maybe we needed to wait for AI to come to this point to help us figure that
Yeah,
out.
true. Yeah.
If it's taking us this long, maybe the technology we have isn't enough.
Yeah, facts. I see what you're saying. You know the whole premise of cancer? I didn't even know this. It's like genetic codes. So there's like an anomaly in your genetic code, and I heard this, like, I'm probably butchering it, but you need 6 errors to occur in your genetic code in order to start creating like cancerous cells. So like cancer is not like born into us. It's more like through our environment, it mutates. Oh, 6 mutations. So we create cells all, like how it's like, every 7 years you're a whole new person. Like every cell in your body is totally different. So we're always creating new cells. So it takes like, it's okay to have like 1 mutation, 2 mutations, but like 6 mutations, and then you're going to start growing cancer.
Right.
So what that tells me is like, this is a weird coding error.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, if we look at DNA as code, it's like maybe we're looking at it too biologically. Maybe we need to figure out how to like stop the mutations.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like they're all trying to cure the symptom. Like once the tumor's already here, but it's like maybe there's a way to like stop the mutation, like stop it before it starts.
Yeah. That the whole point is, I guess, trying to find that when that mutation or before that mutation can happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that's the point of like the big data, right? Because then they'll able to see the patterns of like, oh, you're approaching mutations, bro.
Right.
Okay, how much time we at? I got 2 last.
1 hour 13.
Okay, I believe we can get through these quickly. So I sent you that thing, and I was like, dude, is this true? The K218b, the planet
the
that
planet?
they found that theoretically is water. And I was like, bro, is this real? Because like NASA posted whatever.
No. Theoretically water.
Yeah.
No. I think, but this is an old planet that they found a long time before, like a few years ago, right?
Yeah. But then you sent me the article, and I was like, okay, maybe it's going to debunk it. And it's like, we still need to investigate it.
Yeah. No.
So,
what they found is certain parameters, or in the data that they found, they think that this was methane or methane release, right?
Okay, yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that there's life yet. Like they don't have the exact detection to tell life or not.
For sure.
Right?
No, totally. Yep, for sure. Totally. So we don't know if this methane gas is like related to life forms already being there, or if it's like a natural release. Totally. Taking that out of the equation, I'm saying that where there's water, there's life. So even if it's not at this point in time, it does have the potential to grow life because there's water on the planet.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Which is like, which got me thinking, because I'm like, if this is the only, because remember that example of like, if you're looking at the night sky, even though it's so huge, I'm not a night sky, through the telescope, the Hubble telescope, that's like one pin in like a giant map.
Sure. Yeah.
Because we're only able to shoot this telescope at like small points. We're not looking at the entire sky.
Mm-hmm.
So if you already found this one within this one pinpointed thing, it's like, what else is out there, bro?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because we found one planet with water, potentially. So it's like, and this isn't even theory, bro. This is like NASA said this. So if NASA's like, it looks like there's water, we need to investigate further. It's like, but you're only looking at a tiny piece of the sky and you're missing so much more of it. We have to look at the probability and the chances of there actually being highly intelligent civilizations elsewhere in the world.
Yeah.
Or in the universe. So how could you not believe in aliens, bro? Like, it makes no sense. Like, we for sure, people are like, oh, it's so lonely, we haven't discovered anything. It's like, maybe you're just looking in the wrong places, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the universe is so big. There's got to be other.
It
literally
makes no sense.
Yeah.
You just found one with water. So, okay.
I think they found
You found one.
I think there was
few with water?
I think they found a few. If I
you find a
remember
few, bro?
correctly. Yeah.
Okay, so if you found a few, then you just have to wait a few million years. And plus, that's also by the time the light comes back to you.
But we also have to understand that I don't know if water, in the sense, is abnormal to find.
So you think that
'Cause
water's normal?
I don't know enough. Like, there are pockets of ice and things, even on the moon.
Okay, interesting. Tell me more.
There is some form of ice, and like the Mars too, right? Like the ice caps and stuff like that. Is water abnormal to the universe?
Oh, so maybe we're asking the wrong question. It's like, where can we find water? And it's like, it's actually flipped. It's like, where can you not find water?
I don't know.
What I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Oh, we're all looking at like, oh, water's so rare. It's like, no. You're just looking at the ones that don't have water. Water's actually quite common.
It could be that.
And if there's water, there's life. Like, but that's the thing too, right? Like, just going back to it, if you see through the Hubble telescope, that's a picture from the past, because the light to come to you is like, how many thousands of light years away is that thing, right?
Yeah.
Light years away. So, like, we might just be looking at the beginnings of that moment, but where they are now, there's actually life.
Right.
So how weird is it that, like, time is not, like, what we look at as this moment is not actually this moment. Like, our tool of the Hubble telescope, look, we found this picture. It's like, I can't stress this enough, but it's like you're looking into the past.
Sure. Yeah.
You're not looking into this moment. So in this moment, maybe there's like, it's teeming with life.
Yeah.
But our instruments,
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But our instruments are telling us, our instruments are so limited that we think that there's no life. Oh, actually, dude, this is mind blow. Wait, hold on. This might be the answer. What if the question's all wrong? We're alone in the universe. Why are we alone in the universe? No. Why are your instruments so lacking that they can't see what's actually happening in the universe?
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Our universe might be teeming with life.
We
now,
just can't see it
at
this
now,
moment.
At this actual, because there's a difference between time and moment, right? Sure. So people are like, oh yeah, at this time. No, time and the moment are two separate things. Time, like, you can tell, like, if you're a meditator, like, time is not even real. Like, you can go into like a moment, be so into it, or like flow states. You're like, oh, how much time is? Dude, it's been 2 hours. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Right. Even this podcast, I have to ask you, like, how long has it been? Right? Because we just keep going because we're in the moment. So time and the moment are two separate things.
Yeah.
So our instruments only measure time, but our instruments aren't even that good, or they're the best they can be, whatever. Or
we're limited. We're limited in what we can get, because it's all from the light, right? The light has taken 20 million years to get here, or whatever it is. we don't know the now. We know the then.
Bro, that's a mind blow. Because how long did it take for our Earth to build life? Like millions of years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, that planet is 365 billion light years away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what does it look like in this moment?
So
Probably teeming with life, bro.
no, probably, but
Holy
even
crap, bro.
but then we had life 20 million. Did we have 20 million years ago? Like dinosaurs and stuff?
Sure, let's say yes.
So maybe that's what we're seeing. If those, we can figure out the methane, whatever that thing's being released.
Yeah.
It could be the early start of their life, but they're not.
If we teleport there now,
it maybe
it's like, oh, it's a city, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, that's a trip. Oh my God. Wait, that actually fully answers that question because people are like, oh, because you'll hear it like Elon Musk, every genius scientist, they're like, oh, we are alone in the universe. No, we are alone in the universe according to our tools.
Mm-hmm.
But our tools are very limited.
Sure. Yeah.
No, but actually, that's such a trip because, like, if you take the tool away and you teleport me right there, they really might be in a full, like, of course.
But that's what yeah, bro. But I think that's what they're also saying, like, why we don't think that UAPs are alien. Because if they're here, they've figured out a way to travel faster than light.
Okay. Keep going.
Right, if it takes 10 million years for that light to reach us, right, whatever
they're not using light. No, they're not moving at the speed of light. No, they're warping gravity.
Yeah,
they're creating wormholes.
So that's what I'm saying. They've surpassed us of course, right?
Yeah.
In their timeline, if that's the case.
And that's why we're like, oh my God, there's these UAPs from different planets, like, because and Elon Musk, like, if I see any aliens, I'll let everyone know. Like, he said that fully on X. Like, I just don't see them in space. It's like, yeah, because your tech is limited, but they are able to wormhole here, and that's why they know what's happening at all moments. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Like,
how did? Yeah. But we don't know that technology. Are they using, like, our black holes, wormholes? Like, is that what's?
No, but here's the crazy part. Mathematically, we know that technology. People, like scientists, that's how they know how these crafts are moving, through using gravity. Like, mathematically, they can do it, but they just don't have the tools to do it.
Yeah, we don't have the equipment and things like that.
Yeah. And like, one thing that they were saying is, like, you need something that's so dense in gravity in order to warp gravity.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they have that element 115, right? That Bob Lazar was saying way back. They hadn't even invented it yet. And he's like, no, they're using this thing called element 115 that's, like, so dense that it's able to create gravity around it. Okay? And if you can warp gravity, you can warp time. Because, and I heard this on the Theories of Everything podcast. He's like, I hate it when people say space and time.
Mm-hmm.
There is no space and time. It's space time. It's like time and space are interlinked. You can't separate the two.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, damn, that's an interesting way of putting it. Because if that's true, then, and it is true because that's what all scientists, he's a scientist.
Yeah.
And because that's the case, if you can warp space, you warp time, you don't need to worry about 10,000 light years away. You're using a gravity controlled item that's able to warp space and then just jump here, a wormhole, basically.
Yeah.
And like, maybe the reason why Elon Musk isn't seeing it is because they don't need to warp outside in. They just warp directly to our planet.
Mm-hmm.
That actually makes total sense. It's like, that's why you're not seeing it, Elon, because they're not in space. They don't care about space. They're just jumping to each planet.
Right.
You know what's crazy? Dune. So I've been playing Dune in the background, and you know how I love Dune 2? I think I sent it to you guys where, like, if you watch Dune 2, it makes you fall in love with Dune 1 even more. So I bought Dune 2, and I've been trying to play that. I'm like, oh, there's something, like, not creative about it. So I put on Dune 1, and I love that one even more than Dune 2 now because it shows you how the whole galactic empire works. And a lot of the ships that they were like warping in and out, they look like Tic Tacs, like what we see. And I'm like, dude, this is probably what's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have these galactic federations that look like us, and they're just like, we're just not privy to what's going on outside. It's like we are the Fremen, but even lower than Fremen because they haven't even allowed us to know that there's a galactic civilization out there.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Last thing, because I know we're like creeping close to time, and I just want to get this on there as well because you had mentioned it last week, and I was like, oh, that's really fascinating. The caste system, the Portuguese.
Yeah.
It's actually a
Oh,
Portuguese
right.
word.
Yeah.
Go into that. Remember it? I was like, oh, I'll write this down because it's really fascinating.
Well, yeah, caste is, you won't find that word in Sanskrit or anything. It's like the actual thing is the Varna system, which is
Okay, pause right there. Varna system. So it's really interesting because when I was taking world religions, and this is like, it blew my mind because they're like, there's a caste system within
Sure.
like
Yeah.
Hinduism. And I'm like, okay, cool. They got a caste system. Even in the yoga teacher training, caste system.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're telling me that that's not true. It's actually a Varna system.
So I think the issue is what ends up being taught to the outside world is going to be from, like, it's in English, right? When the British come or the Portuguese come, they're going to use their terms to what they think it means, right? But they have a different definition for those words, right? I guess caste is what they have the closest word to it, but it became very rigid in the sense that but also it's controlling too, which is if you're in this caste, you stay that caste. But that's not how it works, or how it's supposed to have been working.
So let me just break that down for people listening. If you don't know what a caste system is, it's basically like a hierarchy. So like you have like the lower worker, then you have like the spirituals, and then you have like the business people, the doctors.
Yeah.
And basically what it says is you can't move up and down that caste unless you get reincarnated in the future. That's like my knowledge of it through yoga.
Yeah.
And like, so like you try your best, you do as many good deeds as you want, you die, you come back as this new caste, which is higher on the level, do more good deeds, die. And then that's like an interesting control mechanism for people. Because then it's like, well, it's just like us, right? It's like do good deeds so that you can go to heaven.
Yeah.
But for them, it's like do good deeds so that your next life.
Exactly.
And then the whole, right?
Yeah,
and the whole goal is you want to achieve moksha, which
Mm-hmm.
is liberation from this karmic system.
Yeah.
So that your soul becomes set free.
Yeah.
Related to what you just said is what I had been trying to say for a long time, which is like people who think that we're learning a yogic system, we're learning the Jungian system, bro. If you study Carl Jung, he invented the higher self.
Mm-hmm.
People are like, oh, I want my like lower self to connect with my higher self. And we're like, yeah, that's a yogic principle. No, that is a Jungian principle.
Mm-hmm.
He invented that.
There isn't my understanding is some things that I've been listening to. It's like there isn't a hierarchy system.
That's interesting.
It's just that first of all, the Varna thing is, it's your character, it's your dharma or your direction.
Your
if you
personality.
it's based on that, you go up to that position. It's nothing to do with you being stuck in that thing or in that level.
Which is interesting because it's just another word for that is archetypes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a type of person. It's like you are just naturally a doctor. Why is my sister a nurse and why am I a business person?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Tendencies, bro. Our tendencies. Like if you forced me to become a nurse, I'd be like, oh my God, this is tough, bro.
Exactly.
It's like, yeah, you should stay in that caste. You should be stuck in the business caste. It's like, no, not really. You're just telling me what is my natural tendency to be successful in life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you're saying the Varna system is.
Yeah.
All right. So wait. To go quickly.
But then that's what it was supposed to have been or has been before. But the idea is when you get colonized, how do you control people? And I think that's what it is. And it's not like they were controlled for 100 years or something. It was like 5 to 300 years, something like that. That this has been going on for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And what ends up being left behind is what we think was what it was, but it's not, right?
Yes. Yeah. No. Totally. And that's interesting because it's like, how many generations does it take to re-indoctrinate?
Like I was just thinking about it too, where it's like, caste is Portuguese word. It's not even a Sanskrit word.
Yeah, see, they said it was a Sanskrit word.
They
bro.
made it. But is there a English word for karma? But they didn't have a word for karma. So karma is what stayed.
Yes. No, totally. Yeah.
right? So, but Varna, they use caste, but that's their word.
Right. Yes. And it's like that actually makes way more sense than because when I first heard about the caste system, I was like, that's weirdly restrictive.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is a
Yeah,
good
of
way to
course.
control people,
Yeah.
right? But when you say it's tendencies, it's like that actually makes way more sense. Of course, you would be looking at it from like, so there's of course you'd be looking at it through like a more what do you call that? Like a more not softer, but it's like it's not a way to control, but it's a way to like filter people.
Mhm.
It's like just gravitate towards your tendencies. But if you look at like patriarchy versus matriarchy, right? So back then, a matriarchy, like the women were in charge, is it had more of a softer angle. It wasn't until like colonialism that we have patriarchies where men are in charge,
Mhm.
where it's just like very much like this is mine, this is yours. So people are like I'm not trying to sound like a weird liberalist.
Yeah.
I just really think that a matriarchy is better than a patriarchy because it's more collectivist.
Mhm.
And it sounds if you look at the historical timeline, that matriarchies were big. It wasn't until the only reason why we think about women as being weak is because of the Western society being like women's rights movement. It's like, what are you talking about? Back then, they venerated women because they were the only ones able to create life.
Yeah.
Like women in those ancient cultures were highly respected, which is why I highly respect it. I understand it, bro. You're the only, you're carrying life, you're creating life. All I have to do is just like plant my seed and protect you.
Right.
That's it. Right? But they're doing a lot of the stuff. They're raising the children, They're
Mhm. Oh yeah.
bringing them home. If you look at it like that, it's like whereas like they said from a patriarchal system where men are in charge, it's like yeah, they were meant to do that to serve us.
Mhm.
But if you look at it through a matriarchy system, no, they're doing that to make life better for the family.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So this Varna system is very matriarchal, which is like, no, what are your tendencies, bro? We'll just put you there.
Mhm.
Right. Versus the caste system, which is very patriarchal, which is like you are stuck here, and the only way to do it is liberate yourself through karmic good deeds and reincarnation.
Right. Yeah.
Fascinating. Because you're just like, bro, we need to move back to a matriarchal system. What are we doing?
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah. But all right, so to go back to like the Varna system, I highly agree with that. Because that's marketing. That's why I agree with it.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? Like we
Mhm.
are all archetypes. If you
Mhm.
look like at Joseph Campbell's book, Hero with a Thousand Faces, it's about that. We all play different archetypes in life.
Right.
Right. And they just knew that back then.
Mhm.
So they just optimized their reality by playing into the archetypes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I see nothing wrong with this. Like people are like, "Oh, caste, like why are you going to be a lower class?" Like, no, bro. It's like,
Well, the issue is that that's what's left behind, right? That's what.
yeah, exactly.
That's the problem. Yeah. When the true
And then
understanding is not really in the mainstream, right? It's not used as the mainstream.
Exactly.
That's what's left behind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Graham Hancock has the best line about this, which is, "We are a species with amnesia." And he was saying that we woke up in a life without a historical record of where we came from. But I think like in general, that actually applies too, because we are a species that doesn't know how anything is working.
Yeah, there's sometimes of a difference in that. I understand what he's saying, and that I think makes sense in the grander thing of history. But like when you come from being colonized, and this is what was indoctrinated into you, like this is what takes time to remove. It doesn't just happen.
I see what you're saying. It's not that we are a species with amnesia. We are a species that has been indoctrinated.
Yeah, colonized, indoctrinated.
Okay, yeah.
This is what happens, right? This is when you become that as part of the education system.
Right.
It was only 70 years ago when it was free, right? But even then, it took many years to start figuring out the country to get out of it, right? It's going to take another probably same amount of time that they colonized for to get these things kind of fixed too within the society.
And then we have to look back at like historical records to even figure out what the education was like and then bring that to light. But that's the power of the internet, because how else are you reading this? You're like, oh yeah, the internet, like bringing truths, right?
Yeah.
So so it's interesting. It's like the internet really is the biggest like truth bomb that we could receive. But if you look at how many years it takes to indoctrinate someone, it's like, because you said 500 years, right? So that's how many, like 10 generations of people?
Mm-hmm.
Or like more, because you have your kids at like 30 or so.
It could,
so
yeah,
like,
it could be more, but then it could still stay on within its own
no,
system.
for sure,
right?
for sure. But what I'm trying to say here is like, if you look at the colonization of the indigenous, it was just 2 generations.
Mm-hmm.
Your children, they put the kids in those like I forgot what it was called. Those like, what is school systems like?
Yeah. There was it was a whole big
Like not camps.
No. This is church. It's like a church school. What was it called?
You know what I'm trying to say, but
yeah, I know what you're saying. I can't.
It's like slipping both of our minds. So like when these indigenous
reform
people,
schools. I remember now. Something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So the indigenous would have children. They would take those children and put them into those schools. Damn, it's like so close
I know.
to the tip of my tongue. So they put them in those schools, and then those kids. This is factual. Like I actually study. You're googling it right now.
I'll try.
So I actually learned this through a program, thankfully through the internet, like a legit program though. I was like, it's like a truth and reconciliation thing.
Residential schools.
Residential schools. Thank you. So through that program that I took, it's a legit program about truth and decolonization, truth and reconciliation. And so they would have the indigenous people, they'd take their children away from them, put them in residential schools. Those children would come back with a bad look on their parents, be like, you're demons, you need to be baptized.
Mm-hmm.
And then those children would have children, and then they would indoctrinate their children to think that their grandparents were crazy. And then once that like grandparent line died off, you're left with 2 generations of people that believe Jesus is the way, but they were just indoctrinated in residential schools.
Exactly.
Right? So that's just 2.
Yeah.
But 500 years, how many generations is that? So like so much is lost in the colonization period that like you're just finding out now about the Varna system relative to the caste system.
Yeah.
It's like we're so abundantly lucky to have the internet, and we take it for granted because the information is just out there. You just got to read it. But like I was saying, like before, how many people actually do that? Like the passion needs to be there.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
you were saying.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Truths are out there, man. You just got to look for it. You just got to find the patterns and like realize that I can't stress this enough because like it is marketing, man. Marketing rules the world, because what is marketing is just like the shaping of how you see the world. You know, and like life is just the story that we believe or are told.
Yeah.
So like it's important to study and like figure out like what's really happening.
This makes even sense too, like just in the grand thing of even Hinduism. It's not like everybody practices the same way.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's just a blanketed term that the British put on. It's not even like we're just saying Hinduism because people understand what it is, or people understand the term now, but that's not what it was called.
Right. Because it's a collection, right? Like there's just different pockets of beliefs.
Different pockets of beliefs. There's different ideas.
Yeah.
For them to make it easier for themselves. Just called it Hinduism.
Yeah, facts. Yeah.
But there's like there's the figures, or there's the yoga, but then they all put it together. But it's not the same thing.
Yeah, like what do you call it? What's your language?
Kannada, or
no.
Sanskrit. Which language are you talking about?
No, like the main
Hindi.
Hindi, yeah, Hindi. But it's like that's just like, or Tagalog's another one. It's like that's just the general, but they have like Aklana and whatever, Bisaya, like just Kannada, and like this other one. It's like,
and there's so many. Like,
Like
just the next state has a different language, right? Right now, the best way to communicate is English, because it's just
Right. It's the universal language that we can all like
Yeah.
communicate through.
Yeah, but that's only
But-
because of colonization. But yeah,
Exactly. But when you think about it like that, it's like they were really just trying to box in this thing that they didn't fully understand.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, oh, different languages. Okay, just figure out one language. Oh, it's different religions. Okay, just figure out one religion.
yeah. And I think it makes sense. It could make sense from the European perspective too, because for them, it's just like it's too complicated to have so many different things.
Yeah, facts.
You want to, you're trying
Yeah.
to minimize it to just one thing. So then, okay, that's easier to understand, right?
Yeah,
If you have so
facts.
many things, you really can't make. Okay, I don't know. I don't understand what's this part, but let's just all put it all together as one
You
thing.
can't streamline it.
You can't. Yeah.
Yeah. But why would you need to streamline it? Because you want to become the superpower.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
You need to fit them all in a box. Crazy, man. The internet is crazy. Even with like the Drake and Kendrick thing is over now. Like Drake's old label head was like, yeah, the beef's done. Because things are just escalating. It's like Kendrick won, it's over. But like the problem is now people are deep diving through the internet to find out that all this stuff is true about Drake, and you're just like, ooh, the internet is the great truth bomb seeker, you know? Because you have detectives all around the world now, just like, oh, he said this. Dude, I saw some crazy, like, he said this back in 2003 in this one tweet that was so obscure. But you have like 1,000 tweets. Like, who went through all those 1,000 tweets, bro?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, right.
like, but that's the thing. It's like we're gonna deep dive. Like collectively, we're able to like filter out disinformation now over time.
Mhm.
You know? Yeah. Do you ever think? All right, last thing. I gotta go as well. So like last thing, but it's been tripping me out a lot recently. Where I'm like, when I'm sober, like right now, I'm sober. Like, oh yeah, this is of course we'd be talking about this. Of course, it's so logical. Of course,
Sure.
I chose these tattoos. Of course, you know, whatever, right? But in an inebriated state, in an elevated
Uh-huh.
state, I'm like, am I fucking crazy? What the frig? Do you ever get that? You're like, some stuff is like, you know, a little bit too much about that stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like nobody's thinking on the level. It's kind of weird, bro.
Sure, but I think it's. Why would I need to think about what other people are thinking? It's my life now, right? It's like
No, for sure. But it's just like, it's just like TMI on esoteric things. I know nothing about mainstream stuff. You tell me about like what's happening in Gaza, I'm like, I don't know, bro. If you tell me about like what happened on CP24, I don't know, bro. Who's winning the Leafs game? I don't know, bro. But we want to talk about some aliens? Yeah, we got it. You want to talk about anime? Yeah, we got it.
But
You know what I mean? It's like
yes,
that's weird though, bro.
it can be, but I think it's not anymore. The reason is because of the internet.
Okay.
The reason is
Yeah,
we
maybe. It's
found
just,
our
like, freaking
people
weird,
can
bro.
no, but that's the thing. I think it is an issue at the same time where it's like you've got your niche, but the internet or social media allows you to be in your niche. Where before, without social media, you have to communicate with the people around you, and not everybody around you likes the same things.
Yes, and that's what makes you weird. Yeah. I get what you're saying. I get what you're
Right
saying.
now, everybody can be focused within their own niche.
Yeah, totally. So like me, I love my tattoos. Okay, in a tattoo shop, I'm not weird.
Mhm.
I mean, like in an Asian tattoo shop, because like there's
Yeah, okay.
obviously like bikers,
Sure.
like the shops that I've
yeah.
very
Of course,
like
yeah.
cyberpunky Asian.
Right.
Everyone's wearing like some weird stuff there, right? It's like hip, you know. But then now, let's say I go back to Port Union and I'm walking around with that. It's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, well, why is he doing that?
Yeah,
It's like when I used to wear a fanny pack before everyone wore a fanny pack. Why is he doing that?
Sure.
You know, it's like you're kind of like one step in something else. Like the cultures are too different.
Yeah.
And that's what I was thinking about, which is like kind of weird because like even this TikTok stuff, bro. I've been telling like professionally, I've been telling people this for years. Hey man, don't invest in that because it's probably gonna this was happening. There's some spy information, blah, blah, blah. People are like, oh my God, that's crazy. Yeah, right. Like, I sound like a crazy person. Now it's coming out through like the media and they're like, oh, damn. And I can't even say I told you so. Because when I say I told you so, they're like, yeah, of course the news told us. You're like, bro, no, no, no.
Yeah.
Like, that's why this podcast is great. You can timestamp it. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's weird.
Mhm.
I've just been feeling like, even with this AI thing that, like this FYI.ai, I was like, oh, let me share this with people. But then it's like, bro, you're weird. You know?
Yeah, I get it, but that's just because it's if you're around other people that like AI stuff, they wouldn't think it's weird.
Or like even
nor
more
would
advanced,
you,
like
yeah.
that's all you know, bro.
Sure,
Like if I go to
exactly.
AI convention, they're like, but
Exactly.
check this out. And you're
Yeah,
like, oh god damn, bro.
yeah. So that's yeah.
But I wonder if that's like an open mind thing. Maybe it's like, because if you told me about that, I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. And I want to learn more about it. But then people are like, oh, that's crazy. Door closed. That's what I mostly see. It's like, that's crazy. Door closed. Whereas I'm like, that's crazy. What else is in the door? You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. It
But I think
depends.
that's what.
Depends on how much you want to be delve into your niche. Yeah, it depends on that, I guess.
No, for sure, for sure. Like again, going back to it's like in a sober state, I'm like, this all makes logical sense. But like, you know, when you're elevated, you're like
Yeah.
overly critical and slightly paranoid, right? So you're just
Sure.
like, am I crazy? What's going on?
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like, maybe we need to pull back on the elevation now because I'm like, it's you know what I mean? If you look at it from their perspective, it's kind of weird.
Of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah. But they're not this. Yeah, they don't have the same experiences or the same enjoyment as you do in looking into those things.
But do you feel that about yourself too? Are you ever like, oh, it's kind of weird that I know this?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, you do? Oh, thank God. All right. That's why I had to bring it up because I was like, is it just me or is it kind of weird? Because if
Yeah.
you're feeling it too, it's like, okay, it's normal. It's normal. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But again,
Alright.
it's around other people. It depends on who you're around and what you talk about, right? You're not going to talk about. You have different versions of yourself around other
No,
people.
for sure. For sure. For sure. But that's the thing. It's like, I was like, I'm excited to talk on this podcast with you because I can just like tell you exactly what I'm thinking.
Mhm.
Right. But it's like, if somebody else who isn't into this listen to this, they'd be like, "These are kind of weird." But it's like nobody's. It's like factual, bro. Like you can go Google this.
I know. I think
Like you're just talking about the pyramids being energy sources, and then the obelisks are like, wait, like what are you smoking, bro? I'm like, no, like actually listen to the architecture and like the engineer. I didn't make this up, bro. I'm just like listening to the information. I'm like that's interesting, and they're like, oh, you get fooled a lot. And then wait 2 years, they're like, it turns out that the energy source, the pyramids are actually energy sources. And you're like, told you.
Yeah. Or like there's different things, right? All I do is I watch debates or things like that. That's not a normal thing. Oh, why are you wasting your time? Right? Like, that's boring.
Yeah. But you're like, no, this is where you feed the information. This is where like you learn a bunch of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Like let's say you were talking to somebody more traditional and they're like going off about the caste system. They're like, oh my God, we have this caste system. And you're like, interjection, it's actually a Varna system. And the reason why that you just
Exactly.
And they're like, what a crazy person. Like, what are you talking about? You're like, no, actually, if you read into this book, the Varna system was based off of, like that's weird. That's weird. That's weird to like most people.
Yeah, of course.
And I think maybe that's why I was getting hyper paranoid because I'm like, dude, this is weird. This is actually weird. Like Tara didn't get it. I was like trying to tell her, I was like, I think I'm kind of weird. And she's like, she did say a good thing, which is like your brain, you're in a good space in life, so your brain is creating problems where there are none because our brains are meant to solve problems. I'm like, yeah, maybe that is what's happening, but I also do think it's kind of weird that you just like know too much.
Sure. Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
To think that.
All right, I'm glad that I'm not the only one. That's why I wanted to bring it up. I'm like, is it just me? Somebody's listening to this right now. They're like, oh, I thought I was weird. That's why it's also good to bring it out because other people are probably like, thinking that they're weird. But I mean, I'm sure there's like a tipping point to like psychosis here.
Yeah, there could be.
Like
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna go out and like try and blow up a building because of like what I believe. I'm like, no, don't do that, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So there is like a negative component to it too, where you go into like psychosis and paranoia.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like fear and propaganda. You're like, oh, the Chinese are controlling us through information. This is true. They are taking a lot of information, but I'm not gonna like let that rule me. I'm not gonna like fight against that. That's just what's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I had to put that on record. Because you're like, like, you're crazy. You're gonna do something crazy. I'm like, no. Just like I just think the information that we know is a little weird.
Right.
Oh. But then what about the people that are feeding us that information? They must think they're weird. You know, like the people that you're watching.
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
like,
of course. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
and you don't even take it at face value. You also research it. Like I'm reading the books. You're looking at the articles. It's like, no, there's like grounds here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not just random. Like we're not just making this up.
No.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, that's where we're gonna end the podcast.
But but it's like like even with the other, you brought up the Planet One, and you also sent me the other, like the water thing. It depends on, and then it's like how you read those articles, right? People are gonna go, like if you don't delve into it, you could get misled.
Facts. That's why I was like, hey man, what's going on with this article? And then like reading it's like, okay, it's inconclusive. But if it's inconclusive, it means that there's potential. Sure. That's where I was taking it. But then people are like, I told you aliens are real. There's line. It was like, okay, yeah.
But as if you just read the headlines, yeah.
I know, like let's just totally. Like let's have a sober approach to this information. Yeah. All right. Weird crisis of conscience at the end of this podcast. But if you're listening to this too and you're feeling kind of weird, like know that we are also feeling kind of weird about the information because the world is weird. Yeah. But take an optimistic approach because you know it's all fun and games at the end of the day. All right, that's it. Any last things, Vish?
No, that's it.
Are you gonna watch the monkey thing, the Planet of the Apes? I'm watching it on.
Oh yeah.
Tuesday.
I haven't decided when. Maybe I'll go with you guys. I don't know yet.
Oh wait, you're
watching. Oh, you're watching it at the. Never mind. We'll talk about it after.
Okay. All right. Until next time. Take it easy, Vish.
Peace.
Bye. All right. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all those fun things, and check out our sponsors: Zenro Clothing Co., Porty and Bakery, and Podbean. Take it easy, Vish.
Peace.